Welcome back, gentlemen. So we got a special here today. We got a mini Uzi. We got two of them actually. So we're gonna do a video on this. It's gonna be a comprehensive mini Uzi video. Probably gonna be the best one. You know, it's gonna be the best one on YouTube, I promise. So we're gonna dive into kind of the history. We're gonna just touch on it a little bit, and then we're gonna look at comparison between the semi-automatic mini Uzi and the fully automatic mini Uzi, and then we're gonna kind of compare it to the micro Uzi. Let's compare it to the MP5. You know, I have all of those. You know, we got the micro here, we got MP5 here. You know, so we got guns to show, and we're gonna compare it to that mini because, you know, for many years the mini has been all the rage. You know, a lot of people love the mini Uzi, and you know, from what I've seen on YouTube, it's not very comprehensive. We're gonna cover all the bases with this video. You know, I'm not monetized on YouTube. I'm just doing it for you guys. Actually upping up my game. You know, I got a mic and everything. Your boy's kind of growing up, you know, getting more professional with it. So, you know, like and subscribe if you will, but either way, you're gonna like this video. So with that, let's talk about the mini Uzi. So this thing, well, actually the full-size Uzi was, you know, Uzziel Gall was the inventor of that in like the 1950s, late 50s, mid 50s, and it was funny because he said, you know, the one thing he didn't want was the gun to be named after him, but you know, we see how that played out. So in the MP5 came out, you know, and this was like all the rage with everybody and their mom, you know, with the police departments, you name it, SWAT, you know, you name it. And so Uzi was, or IMI was like, hey, let's make a compact version of the full size. And so they got Uzziel Gall, and he went to work on it. And in 1978, this thing was released to pretty much the world. We didn't get it in the US until like 1980, 1981. And ours were actually imported by Action Arms, same as the semi-automatic ones. So what this is, we'll talk about this more, but this is an actual police gun. So SWAT team bought this gun in like 1981 and used it as their like MP5. So, and I managed to get this due to some law changes. I was able to get this. I mean, it's still a $40,000 gun in 2025, but I was able to, they unrestricted some of the police guns, and this is one of them. So it's very, very rare. So the beauty of this video is we're gonna see a real deal, like converted gun. This is straight up IMI Israeli machine gun, and we're gonna compare it to the semi-automatic one. And I think that'll be very, very informative because this gun, this micro, this is a conversion. So they converted it to open bolt, and then they added like weights and crap to the bolt to try to slow it down because the stroke on this one's substantially shorter than this one. This one's got a 50% faster rate of fire than the MP5, and then this one's like 40% on top of that. So it's like problematic. That's how fast this thing is. But we shot this one, I think it was like somewhere around 1,600 rounds per minute, maybe 1,700 rounds per minute. This one, I just found out how fast it was. And it's 1,300 rounds per minute, which I think is like super ideal. We'll touch on that in a little bit. But with that, what we'll do in stages, we're gonna compare these two. So like, do the barrels swap? Do like all the ins and outs between them, and then we'll look at kind of different lowers that you can get to it, and then we'll compare the micro and then the MP5, and then we'll take it out to the range, and we're gonna do a CQB test and go from there. So let's loop around here and let's get a good look at these two side by side. All right, gentlemen, we got both of them here. You got the full auto right there, and this is the semi-auto. Both of these guns were imported around the same time, both by Action Arms. So this gun was purchased by a SWAT team in California called Dolly Cities, California, of all places. I mean, seriously. And then this one, it was imported, I believe they imported 5,000 of these. And they came in a box, we'll look at that in a second. And the value on these currently are about $5,000, which is a lot of money considering that you can pretty much pick up an SP5, the MP5, the semi-automatic MP5 variant for, $2,500. So why would somebody buy something like this for double? Like, what's so special about it? Well, it's nostalgic. Everybody likes the Mini Uzi. It's a badass icon. I mean, it's no way else to put it. I always wanted one, kind of sometimes for silly reasons. I was playing the San Andreas Grand Theft Auto, and I had a micro Uzi like this. And I was sitting there playing, and I could get a micro Uzi in the game. And this is like kind of virtual LARPing. It's like get my real gear in the video game and then go be a hoodlum in the game with my gear. So unfortunately, in the game, you can get the micro, but the micro is actually the mini. So it's like the model that they have for the video game is a mini, but they call it a micro. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like I got this freaking micro Uzi and I can't even LARP with it, virtually LARP with it. But going back to the value of these, because I mean, they are iconic and they've proven themselves multiple times. It's not a gimmicky gun. This is a real deal, like all business gun. And so would you pay $5,000 for a semi-automatic one of these? That's really up to the buyer. Some people think it's worth it, some people don't, but it's your money, so you do with it as you wish. So I wanted this one, but normally they came with a long 16-inch barrel. So let me move this out of the way. I'll show you what they came with. All right. All right, so before I registered this one as a SBR, it would come in here with this huge barrel, basically like that. And then you have a sling, you have a sight key, I believe, 2 magazines, 25 round magazines, and they all came with a dummy barrel, which is pretty interesting. It's just like a display barrel, nothing on this side, but if you want to hang it up on the wall, you would basically just have it like that. All right. And so let me move that. Put this guy back. All right, so The barrel swap is you know, very easy, under 60 seconds. You just take off the barrel nut and slide it out. For this one, I went with Green Mountain barrel, and I bought multiple Uzi barrels. Green Mountain barrel is the go-to. It's like a nice fit. I've also bought, you know, for the full auto one, I've bought one from CAC, but Green Mountain barrel is where it's at. So if you do have a semi-automatic and you want to SBR it, go ahead and go with a Green Mountain barrel. You won't be disappointed. Identical as far as design, but not in the details. So there was multiple reasons or multiple things they changed about the semi-automatic to make it kind of, you can't make it fully automatic that easy. One of the main things is the bolt. It's a semi-automatic bolt. We'll look at it in a second, whereas this one's an open bolt. You know, you cock it back, and so if I have it in auto, you just pull like this and let it go, and it stays back. Whereas this guy, it's closed. It's a closed bolt. All right. So as far as the barrels go, let's take out everything. There are multiple differences. We'll look at them here. All right, we got it field stripped. So let's start with the semi-automatic and see what they did to kind of prohibit using full auto parts. And one of which was the barrel. And so with the semi-automatic, they added a barrel restricting ring. Let me change the angle. See that ring right there? Whereas if you look at a full auto, there is no ring, you know, it's missing. So what the ring is for these barrels, so this is the full auto barrel. This is the US semi-automatic barrel. And so you can see there's an undercut. It's basically turned down to fit in that restricting ring. So that restricting ring, it just kind of slides in there. And so in the past, what I've done is kind of turned them on a lathe to kind of turn this down so it would fit the restricting ring, but you have to register like this one with $200 tax stamp to basically have an SBR. But I would recommend, if you're dropping 5 G's on a semi-automatic like this, then what's another 200 bucks? And then you can have like as close to a full auto as possible. The iconic gun. And so that's one of the things. It's like, why would I buy this one? Why would I buy this one if I bought this one? And the answer to that is, it's still a badass gun. It's semi-automatic. Just because it's semi-automatic doesn't make it any less cool, you know? And so I appreciate both. You know, this one's like basically 10 times the cost of this one, and this one's expensive, but it's not 10 times cooler than this one, you know? It might be, I don't know, this one might be 50% cooler, but it's not 10-fold. But so with that, let's look at the bolts. Obviously, this is the open bolt. And I don't think I need to explain to you how this works, but basically it's got a fixed firing pin, and essentially this whole mass goes and loads the round and smacks the primer. Bullet goes off, it just blow back. Whereas this guy, it has quite a bit of a contraption. So you have a firing pin that like cocks back whenever this thing gets, when the recoil kind of cocks this bolt back, it charges the firing pin. And then when you pull the trigger, the firing pin is the only thing that moves forward. And so making this fully automatic is very difficult. So the reason they outlawed these open bolts in semi-automatic guns in the very early 80s, like I think they banned it in 1981. So that was like for the KG9, for the Mac 10s, they came semi-automatic open bolt, but the ATF was like, no, that's way too easy to convert, so illegally convert. And so they kind of imposed the rule, you got to use a closed bolt. All right, so one other thing that they changed was the takedown pin. So the semi-automatic had a larger takedown pin than the SMG. So to put a trigger pack such as, let's say this guy, on a semi-automatic, you would have to run the smaller diameter pin with spacers on the outside of that to hold it all together. And those are available online. But so if we take this apart, you can kind of get an idea of what these guys look like. The one with the blue stickers, the SMG, basically the same. Quite honestly, I thought the windows for the sear legs would be different, but they're not. And as you can see, they're both action arms. All right, so putting this one, this is a semi-auto onto a full auto, so that would work. You would have to do some funny business with the pins. It'd be the reverse, but what we care about is a semi, because why would somebody convert a SMG to a semi? The what I ended up getting, so this is the original trigger pack, and I got a spare trigger pack for a mini Uzi that is basically the same thing. However, in the, like, I would say late 80s, the Germans had requested Uzis and got their own trigger packs, the DES trigger pack. This was, the Uzi was actually the MP2, kind of like the MP5, it was the MP2. But this was what they requested, and the biggest difference is, which a lot of people don't like, is this guy right here. See that little, let me see if I can get it to focus. So this little notch. So that was a bolt safety catch. It was like a secondary safety mechanism. So this piece needs to be depressed. And let me see if I have, okay, here are my two mini Uzi. Actually, here, how about this? So this was the latest mini Uzi full auto trigger pack, and they had updated the design to what the Germans wanted with the bolt. The bolt catch, they wanted to update across the board. So once this was introduced, it just remained. So for earlier generation ones, see how the magwell is basically just simple, whereas this one is kind of quite modified. So I can't even run this updated one on this, because the bottom side of it doesn't clear the notch and everything, and I certainly wouldn't be messing with a $40,000 receiver to kind of accommodate, you know, a $200 pistol grip. But for making it into basically like a clone correct full auto, that's why I got these. Not so much this one, but I think the DES one is cool. As well as I got the a new just the metal shroud for the Israeli marked one, and so I'll just swap all the mechanics over to this one, and then other than this guy. So what you can do here is just literally remove this guy and grind this little nub off. And then there's also, you can change the selector switch. You can update that so it can go the full length. Otherwise it's going to stop at DES. So those are all things to consider. But that way it would be just like the SP5 guys. This is a real one, but like if this was an SP5, you see this online where people run the full auto lower to give the impression that it's a machine gun. And I don't blame it. I think it's a badass look, whether it's a real machine gun or not. So it's kind of like a clone. And so that's what I'm doing with the semi-automatic. Like I said, it's like just because I have the Mac Daddy, you know, doesn't you know, take away anything from the semi-automatic one. It's still a badass gun. And so, you know, I'll make like a kind of a German variant of it. You know, I think it'd be pretty sweet. And so another difference between them would be the top cover, but this isn't so much. You guys don't really care about this that much because this is like a functional component for the SMG, so it doesn't get you anything like, you know, the ratcheting top, because it's basically important for an open bolt. All right, one last thing with the full auto lower kind of conversion to make it look like a full auto. It's not going to function like a full auto, but you got to swap the sears out. So this is your semi-automatic sear, and then this is on the left side, that's your full auto. And the full auto is made for this one is made for an open bolt. So it won't function with your semi-automatic. So swap the sear out. Like we mentioned, grind this little tab off because this is made as a secondary safety catch for an open bolt. So grind that off, and then there's a selector arm that needs to be modified so you can go through the correct positions for your semi-automatic. And then as far as the takedown pin, the washers, so you'd have to run the small diameter washer, which is what this is. This is a small diameter. You don't drill this out or anything. You run the small diameter pin through it, and then you run the washer in here. So the pin goes through this, the small pin goes through this, and you don't have to modify any of this. And those spacers are available online for like 10 bucks. One thing that surprised me was with the sears. Normally you have to modify the windows here, like on the full size. The windows for the sear legs are different between the SMG and the semi-auto. But under looking at it 5 minutes ago, they're the same for the mini Uzi. So that's a win. That's one thing you don't have to mess with. So with those 3 things, I think, no, 4 things, that's all it would take to kind of give it the proper kind of SMG look, you know. So that's what I'm gonna probably do. And with my semi-auto, and then I'll have to decide which lower to use. This is the Israeli one. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Maybe not. And then I could go with the ARS, like the real one. But I think I'd probably go with the German one just because it's kind of neat. It's different. Why not? So let's see. As far as suppressor use, and this goes for both because both the semi-automatic and the full automatic have options there. So what I selected was a threaded direct thread barrel from KAK, K-A-K, and you know I don't know if KAK sells it, but other barrel manufacturers make a 3-lug. So that would be neat. I have the accessories for this to run at 3-lug. I have like 3 or 4 of these suppressors. This Tyrant 9 is one of my favorite suppressors, probably my favorite suppressor of all time. Very lightweight, stunning performance, you know, and it was made 15 years ago and still like nearly unbeatable. I mean, this thing is just a beast. But the 3-lug, I don't know about running it. You know, it looks kind of funky to me. You know, on an MP5, that's great, but on a Uzi like this, it just doesn't have real good cosmetics, and it's like I don't mind doing a direct thread. I think this looks great, and I don't mind spending the extra 30 seconds screwing it on. All right, so moving on to the comparison between the micro and the mini. So here are 2 of the bolts. These are both open bolt machine guns. So this is the micro bolt, and basically the only difference is you got the feet right here, which I know a lot of people will grind off to run in the mini. I don't know what all the modification differences are because the micro, there's very few of them on the registry because they came out in 1985, like the tail end of 1985, right before the 86 machine gun ban. And so what a lot of people did, a lot of the transferable micros are actually BG bolt mini bolts. So BG machine made bolt conversions for the full size and the mini. And so when it got banned, what they did was get the mini bolt and modify it to work in a mini Uzi. in a micro Uzi. It's not, I don't believe it's the same exact bolt. Here's the factory open bolt. It's got these legs. I think that's what they grind off. But otherwise, it's basically the same length. And then the top's got, on the micro, it's got kind of a cut to have access to, so your finger, you can pull it out, because otherwise it'd be at the very edge of the sheet metal. Another sheet metal related difference I noticed was this is the micro and this is the mini, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but the thickness of the mini Uzi sheet metal is like 50% greater than the micro. So I'd be interested to see what the weight difference is between a micro with a stock versus a mini with a stock. We'll check that out in a second. And then we'll also check out the weight differences between the micro and the mini, because the bolts are relatively the same size. This one should be a little bit lighter, but the problem with the micro's high rate of fire is it's got to be usable, right? It's no fun to have a 2,000 round per minute sub gun. That's just like outrageous. So what LaFrance did, because that's who converted this one. They're normally, like when you see them out in the wild, they're mostly B&G machine bolts that were cut down for micro use. But what LaFrance did, you can see it here, is he basically did like a, let me see if I can get it to focus. The basically did a, there we go, a lead insert, and he stamped it LS for LaFrance Specialties. I don't know, it's pretty gunky, but it's his LS logo. And so the reason he did that was to slow down the bolt as much as possible. So what they did was do like tungsten inserts as well as lead. And the purpose was to, you know, add mass to the bolt to slow it down, because the mini Uzi, I found out moments ago that the Winchester White Box, it runs 1325 rounds per minute, which is, in my opinion, like perfect. Micro Uzi is like 16 to 1700 RPM. It could be even higher if you run like, you know, hotter ammo. Now, where does that come from? It's not the bolt, because the bolts are basically the same. Well, it's the you know, it's the travel the bolt, you know, the distance the bolt travels. So it's substantially shorter with the micro. You got roughly 1 inch less travel. So these guys right here, these rails, you can kind of see lined up. You have over 1 inch more travel with the mini Uzi, and that's reflected in an increased rate of fire, obviously. And so we got to slow it down as much as possible. And I think 1600 RPM, I think that's good amount. I certainly wouldn't want it to go any higher, but it's not too outrageous. But 1325 out of this guy, I think that's literally the sweet spot. So, all right, so we're going to do a quick weight test of the bolt assemblies to get an idea of, you know, how they stack up against each other. So we have micro open bolt, 1947, so 19.5 ounces. Mini Uzi open bolt, 2088, so basically 1 ounce more than the micro. Semi-automatic closed bolt, 2007, that's right in the middle. So we got basically 20 ounce, 20.5 ounce, 19.5 ounce. Not much weight difference. All right, so now we're going to test the weights of these things. And the reason I brought the MP5 out is because that's the Mac Daddy. If you've been following the channel and saw the CQB test, it all revolves around what this one can do. This is the denominator for the test. So I think the Mini Uzi has a real good chance of beating the MP5. And as part of that test, you know, we got to see what the overall weight is. So without further ado, let's test the Micro Uzi, see what it weighs. It's 4.389 pounds. Okay. MP5. It's got the Surefire front end, but that doesn't really add much weight. 6.25 pounds. So The A3, this gun came to me as an A3, which is the retracting stock. I have it in the A4 setup. The some people call it A2, but when you add the pictogram, you know, the four-way pictogram, it turns it into an A4. But with the retracting stock, it's quite a bit more because of the mass, because this A2 stock is very, very, very light. So 6.25 pounds. And here we go. 6.5. Okay, so it's 0.2 pounds, a fifth of a pound lighter than the MP5. All right, fellas, so let's talk about these guns more specifically. So, as I mentioned, this is the semi-automatic SBR mini Uzi, imported by Action Arms in probably 84, 83, somewhere around there. This is a machine gun that was imported by a police department in the 80s, in the early 80s. And it was unrestricted earlier last year. So if you're not aware, the ATF in 2004, early 2004, released basically unrestricted 4,000 LE guns that were brought over, you know, to be basically their machine guns, like duty guns, right? And so they were exempt from the NFA regulations in that the fact that, you know, they can import them as a machine gun from the manufacturer, okay? Because in 1968, they had the law that said basically you can't import a foreign machine gun as a machine gun. You would have to basically bring it over as a semi-automatic and then convert it to a machine gun. All right, so one like this was a mini Uzi, and you can tell here it says Uzi pistol. If this was a machine gun, it would say micro Uzi. Similarly, the mini Uzis all came in saying Uzi mini carbine. All right, not mini Uzi. But this one says mini Uzi. And the prefix is MU, whereas the other one is MC. Micro is a UP. I don't know what the prefix of a micro machine gun is, but all right, so it goes back to this. It's like, where did I get this from? So there was a SWAT team in Dolly City, California, and they had the opportunity to sell their guns that they got in the early 80s to the public or to civilians. And so it works just like a NFA item, you know, the $200 tax stamp, you know, and the time you gotta wait around while the ATF and FBI kind of look into you and stuff like that. But this is a legit machine gun made by Israel, and that's why I really wanted it, because I wanted a mini Uzi for forever, and I was content on like a nice vector Uzi, because quite honestly I didn't want a bolt conversion. I wanted a RR of some sort. And so I thought the Vector would have been the best one. They were the size of them, like as far as like mil spec kind of, they're not the best. You know, they were not made exactly to size. So running like the aluminum rail that you can get for these, that would take some substantial amount of filing to get it to work from what I heard. But this one is factory. And so when I had that opportunity, I was like, I checked all the couch cushions because, you know, this is a $40,000 gun in 2025, 2024. And then a Vector Uzi, like a traditionally allowable mini Uzi, transferable mini Uzi, is about like 30 to 35. So it's not that far off, but, you know, I think it's important for me as a collector to get the real deal. And, you know, there was only a handful of these available because at the end of the day, those police departments that chose this thing chose it over the MP5. Why would somebody do that? You know, it's like, do they know something that we don't? And maybe that's what we're here to prove. Maybe they weren't so crazy. And so here is the hard copy of the auction, and maybe you can freeze if you want to read more about it, but this is the actual gun that we're shooting and reviewing today. So let me see, maybe you could freeze it there. But it still has, from Dolly City, from the PD, it still has the sticker. And then it also has, and that sticker is covering up the Action Arms kind of, why this doesn't focus as well. Okay, see the Action Arms something something Israel, made in Israel. So you also have, show the back of it. This is like, maybe, I guess they put it on upside down. Dolly City, and that's their number for this particular gun. So the first thing I was like, I should refinish it, you know, take this sticker off and send it to get like completely redone, brand new. But my pops was like, you know, that sticker is cool. It kind of tells a story, you know, it's a former LE gun, you know. And so I'm kind of warming up to the fact of just leave it alone. Just shoot it and enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think. Would you refinish it, or would you leave it as is with the kind of the history stuck on there? All right, so you have this gun, and so a lot of people, I think I kind of brought it up a little while ago. Why would you even mess with this if you already have this? You know, people get these are, you know, $5,000, you know, and, you know, they'll flex on people with that. And this will flex on those people, you know? So it's like, why even get this when I have semi-automatic available in this one. So why get a whole new gun? Why not? You know, like I said, this is still a badass gun. You know, it's like most of the viewers that are watching this are more interested in getting this because this is attainable. You know, you save up and you can get this, but this is kind of out of reach by a lot of people. But you know, in part, maybe that's what makes this channel unique, is because I own all these guns. I don't have to borrow them. I could do with them as I wish. So if you guys were like, hey, run this barrel or run this ammo or run this, you know, I can do that. You know, these aren't borrowed guns. So we can get whatever kind of information out of them as we want, because, you know, I own all of them. So I think you'll find value in this channel because of that. But you know, this channel, like I said, isn't monetized. I'm just making it for you guys. So if you like what you see, then, you know, throw me a subscribe and a like and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the gist of it. So the mini Uzi, long story short, it's the, you know, if you look at the what's it called, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, this is like the most faved of the three different variants, you know. And people have asked me, do I like the micro or do I like the mini more? And to be honest with you, I like them equally as much. So if I mess around with this for like a week or two, and then I pulled this guy out of the safe, I'm like, man, this thing is tiny. Look at that, it's freaking cool, you know. And then I go back to this because this is practical. You know, it's got a fantastic rate of fire. It is an icon. It's got a silhouette that's unmistakable. It's got a perfect rate of fire that's controllable. It's got a fast rate of fire, which is enjoyable. And it's uber reliable. I mean, it is very, very, very reliable. So in the shooting that I've done with it since taking ownership, it has not malfunctioned once. Not a single time. And I've run about 1,000 rounds through it, and it's just like a freaking top. But it needs to be, because if this is a legit duty gun, which it was, or like the military uses these things, it can't be some gimmicky jam-o-matic, you know. But that's stuff that we already knew, because if it was known as a jam-o-matic, it wouldn't be of the status that it is today. So, and let me reiterate that I do believe we'll test it out here shortly to see how it does in the CQB test. But initially, I'm thinking it might give the MP5 a run for its money. You know, we weighed it. It weighs less. It's more compact. It's got a 50% faster rate of fire. It's very controllable. It's very reliable. It's damn near indestructible. It's like, what else? Seriously, other than the ergonomics, that's the only thing that I can think of the MP5 betters this guy is ergonomics and maybe optic attachment. I mean, MP5 is not not what I would consider, you know, modular, if you will, but it has better optic options and rail options and stuff like that. But this thing is this thing's an icon, and I'm proud to own it. I'm proud to own the semi-automatic one. Yeah, I mean, these are staying with me for a long time. And so the next video I'm gonna do, I have a Vector full size kind of pending, so I'll have all three of the automatics. So it'll be like, you know, like I was saying with Goldilocks and the Three Bears, you know, we'll be able to review each of them and see, is the mini Uzi the cream of the crop of the three? And I would say a lot of people do think so because of the practicality. It's more practical than the micro. It's got a more practical rate of fire than micro. Another difference between them that let me just show real quick is the stocks. The stocks are different. A lot of people don't think they are, but they are. So the micro is slightly smaller. So you can see if I laid it on here, about an inch shorter. And that doesn't sound like much, but it is quite a big difference, because I can't really, my eyesight's kind of out of focus with the rear sight on the micro. with it being that short. And it was just that 1 inch difference. It starts to get blurry. It's not unusable. It's just, I would wish that it would go out further. And what you'll see, even in Israeli parts kits, it was common that the micro Uzi, the user would use a mini Uzi stock on a micro. And the only downside is the stock would basically come out to like here. But that's it. That's the only difference. Another interesting thing I took notice of was only the micro has this sleeve. They're designed the same way, but I don't know if they just use this like sleeve later on. Every micro that I've seen's got the sleeve, but none of the mini Uzis from the factory came with the sleeve. People add the sleeve to it, but they don't for the micro. And so I'm kind of debating whether to do it or not, because a common thing with the the mini is the wear right here. It doesn't matter if the mini you're looking at buying is like brand new in the box, it's going to be damaged right here. It's going to get marred up because that's where the stock kind of, hear that click? That's metal to metal of it, just, you know. So expect that. If you see it worn there, it's not the end of the world. That's how they come. All right, so with that, I think I'm ready to take it to the range. Let's see how it does. I have a lot of confidence in this guy. You know, let's see if it holds its own against the infamous MP5. That's impressive. Dang. Damn. All right, so we're pretty far back, about 65 yards. It's pretty far out for a open bolt sub gun. So I got two 2-liter soda bottles, one green, one orange, set up. And the point of this is to test the Mini Uzi open bolt, the machine gun variant, in semi-automatic to see just what it can do in semi. You know, a lot of people say, you know, the open bolt is not, you know, not good for accuracy and this and that, but we'll see if it's actually an issue. So wish me luck. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of zoom out so you can see me shoot it, so no funny business going on. Plus I got two of them. If I hit one, good. If I hit two, great. You know, replicating that, you know, would be pretty difficult. So I think that would be a testament to the potential accuracy. So we'll check it out and see what it does. So let me zoom out just to give you an idea how far this is. So the old Mini right here. We're gonna definitely put it in semi. Let's see. So I'm gonna go for the green one on the left. Got it. Orange one. Got it. First try. All right. Let me zoom in so you can see the damage. Oh man. There she bees. All right, fellas. I got the camcorder zoomed in at max 20x. This is at 100 yards. We put a 2-liter orange soda bottle, 100 yards. You know, I was motivated with that last test at 65 yards, got 2 soda bottles. Now we moved it all the way to exactly 100 yards. So I wish I had sighted in the gun so I would know where the point of aim is, but we're just gonna wing it and see how she does. All right. Third shot. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright guys, the results are in. I don't know what you guys think, but I thought the freaking Mini Uzi did amazing. You know, I liked the Mini Uzi before, but I love the Mini Uzi now. I mean, that thing more than lived up to its reputation. Alright, so let's look at what happened. So the first test, you can see the first shot was right there underneath the bullseye, and then all the later shots were just kind of above it. And so I took that into consideration for the second time, and you can see that shot and then underneath the 9, and then we got a crap ton of like center mass shots. And then a third target, similar scenario, hit it at the 9 and kind of held it around center mass. So the previous CQB test, we just did 2 targets, but since this one was such like a kind of outlier, I wanted to do 3, but still record it because it's only fair. Still record it in 2 different ones. So best out of 2 and best out of 3. So when we do eventually test the MP5, we'll probably do best out of 3 and just kind of scrap the 2. But we can keep it best out of 2 because that's what all the other ones are. And so now, if we look at these ones, these 2 were for the Micro Uzi that we did a video on not too long ago. You can, if you hadn't seen it, check it out. The Micro Uzi did very well. I was impressed. And so you can see, you basically tally up the score, you get that 210, and that's 210 plus 181 divided by 2 to get that average of 195. And that 1500 is the rate of fire of the micro Uzi divided by the rate of fire of an MP5, which is 800, multiplied by the foot-pounds of energy, gives you 132,696. So best out of 2 on this one is 133,403. So just over the micro Uzi, mostly due to the rate of fire difference. So the rate of fire was 1325 on the mini versus 1500 for the micro, but we were able to control the mini very, very well. And then see the test 3 or best out of 3, we went all the way to 140K, which is, I think, is going to be very difficult to beat. You know, at 25 yards, look at these groups. Oh, I'm sorry, at 21 feet, 7 yards, these kinds of groups. And here's the micro. See how it opened up. And then I did one with the suppressed, and just it shows that it's even more controllable suppressed. Another cool thing about the suppressed setup is the rate of fire is increased roughly about 60, but we're not tabulating that in this CQB test because not all guns are going to be suppressed. So let me know in the comments what you think, how you felt the Mini Uzi performed. You know, I think it's lived up to its reputation plus some. Can't be happier with it than I am now. I mean, look at that. Thing's a beast. Well, fellas, like I said, I'm not monetized. I'm just doing this to kind of give you guys something to watch and, you know, doing it for you guys. So if you like it, like this video, like the content, just like and subscribe. We're going to do a bunch more of them, and then ultimately we're going to do the MP5 and see can it match this Mini Uzi. I don't know if it can. Those are hard numbers to beat right there, man. All right, until next time.